Hey everybody, welcome back. Okay, so as you're practicing this, you might be getting frustrated with if statements. You're probably thinking, wow, I want to check if there's 5 different things that are the condition. I have to keep doing else if, else if, else if. And it's a lot of code and it's kind of sloppy and it's just not cool. Well, there is a much better way to do that. So if you have multiple conditions that you want to check, you don't have to use the if statement. You can use something called switch. Let me show you what I mean. If we want to do var, and then we'll put last name and we'll put equals, and what we're going to do is we're going to set this to nothing. So all we're really doing is we're declaring that there's a variable that's called last name, and that's it. It has nothing assigned to it. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to check if last name equals something specific, and if so, what do we do? Well, again, we could use if statements, but there could be a few different things. So let's say we're going to check for 5 different names. And again, this could be for anything that you're doing, but we'll just do this with names for right now. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to type the word switch. Then we're going to put parentheses. And inside those parentheses, we're going to put the name of the variable that we want to check. So in this case, it's last name. And then we're going to open and close curly brackets, just like we would on an if statement. Okay, so that's your switch statement. Now, inside the switch statement, there's something called case. So case is basically what it is you're checking for. So if I go case, and then I put, I don't know, let's say Franklin. Then I'm going to put a colon. And then I'm going to put the word break and a semicolon. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying, okay, which case is it? Is it Franklin? If it's Franklin, what do I do? And then I break out of the switch statement. So that's what break means. So let me set up a couple of these and I think you'll understand a little bit better then. So if I go case, I don't know, let's go Hancock, case, I don't know, Washington, case, let's go Lincoln, and then we'll break. Okay, so now if last name would equal Franklin, I would want to put specific code here. So then I can put, we'll just log it to the console this time, console.log last name equals Franklin. You can put the equal sign, it doesn't matter. I just want to type out the word. And then we'll just copy this. As a programmer, you need to learn to copy and paste a lot because sometimes you're going to reuse some code that's similar that you just need to change a couple things, and instead of having to type it all out all the time, you can just copy and paste it. So here we're going to put Hancock. Here we're going to put Washington. And then down here we're going to put Lincoln. Okay. So now if we run this, nothing's going to happen. So I hit refresh and nothing happened. Well, why did nothing happen? Well, there's a simple reason for that. So what you're doing is the switch statement is checking if last name equals Franklin, Hancock, Washington, or Lincoln. But it doesn't equal anything right now. We set it to nothing. Okay, so we basically just declared that yes, that variable is going to exist, and we needed to do that in order to check, with the switch statement, we need to check that variable. So at this point, we're saying, okay, what is last name? In the case that it's Franklin, log it to the console. In the case that it's Hancock, and that's how you can kind of remember it, because it's kind of weird using the word case. And then to remember break, here's how I like to remember it. So if it meets this case, so let's say the case is Franklin. Okay, well, it's Franklin. I did my thing. Now I need to break out of this switch statement. So what happens is once it meets a specific case and it does the code, as soon as that code is done and it hits break, it automatically misses the rest of the code and goes on to the rest of what you're doing, so that none of this actually will show up. Okay, so if I go and I make this now last name equals Franklin, I hit refresh, last name equals Franklin. Let's do, I don't know, let's do Washington. Okay, last name equals Washington. So let's just look at this again, and sometimes when you're doing this, it'll help if you put an extra space like that to kind of break it up a little bit. And you can even here do comments if you want. Check if the case is Franklin. Oh, yes, helps if I can spell. Check if the case is Hancock, etc. Okay, so again, let's go over this real quick. So we declared a variable, but we didn't assign it any value at all. We just said it exists. And the reason we did that is because we wanted to test that specific variable with the switch statement. So we assigned the last name to the variable last name. So we assigned what last name we wanted it to have. And then the switch statement checked that. So if it was Franklin, this is what you did. If it was Hancock, this is what you did. Washington, this. Lincoln, this. Okay, so just remember this format. It's going to be, some remembering at first, but once you do it a few times, it's going to get easier for you. Now, the only other thing I need to explain is this colon. Okay, so this colon basically says, okay, we chose this case. Now, anything after this colon, I want you to do, and then I want you to break. Anything after this colon, if this is the case, I want you to do, and then I want you to break. So you have to have this colon here in order for this to work. Okay, so again, mess around with this. I'm keeping the screen pretty still here while I talk so that you can kind of see it if you want to type along, if you're typing on your editor, which I would highly suggest doing. I learned that for me, when I learn programming, there's a language I need to learn. If I just stop what I'm doing, I look at the code, even if I'm looking at somebody else's code, I'll type it out word for word, because as I'm typing it, it helps me to remember it in the future. And this is one of those things that you're going to use quite often, and you're going to want to know for the future. All right, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.